Well, it took years for the case to reach the courtroom, but today a jury heard opening statements in the case against Brian Smith. He's accused of killing two women and, in at least one case, taking video of the brutal death. Our investigative reporter Rebecca Palsha was in the courtroom today and has the update for us. Rebecca?
That video is at the center of this case, but the defense paints a picture intended to get the jury to question the origins of the video, while the prosecution detailed pretty horrific scenes leading to death.
You'll see videos in this case. You like to work with computers.
As opening statements began, the family of a murder victim watched. The sister of 53-year-old Veronica Abachuk was only able to listen for about 30 minutes before leaving the courtroom in tears. Brian Smith is on trial for both the death of Abachuk and 30-year-old Kathleen Jo Henry.
He strangles her, releases, strangles, releases. She's bloodied, she's beaten, she's naked.
Footage of Henry was turned over to police.
He says, you live, you die. You live, you die. He's playing almost a cat and mouse game with her.
Dunlap says Smith narrates his video as if for an audience, and that after being questioned by Anchorage police for 8 hours, Smith said this.
You guys in a rush to go home? Are you guys in a rush? I know I'm gonna burn already, is what he says. And then he confesses to the killing of Veronica Abachuk.
But really what they have is a video came of very questionable and still largely unknown origin.
The defense then asked the jurors, why did it take so long for the video to get to police? Also, why did the woman who took it tell so many different stories about how she got hold of the videos?
But suffice to say, it's changed a whole bunch in 4 years. She's lied about it several times, material details.
And prosecutors will begin laying out their evidence first thing tomorrow morning.
The sounds of a dying woman. That's what prosecutors say they played for jurors this afternoon in the murder trial of Brian Smith. Rebecca Palsha joins us now with details of a very disturbing day in court.
And Brian Smith is on trial for killing two women, Kathleen Jo Henry and Veronica Abachuk. But we can't show you any of the videos jurors saw today because the court limited who could see the images, and we've decided not to air any of the disturbing audio as well. But while listening to the audio in court, family members often looked to the floor and cried. The accused occasionally took notes, but mostly sat with his hands folded in his lap while the videos played, allegedly showing Kathleen Henry's last moments. Jurors initially watched the 12 videos and dozens of still images that were allegedly taken from Smith's phone. An Anchorage detective described what was being played before the jury watched. Another, how Smith later allegedly confessed to the second murder of Abachuk.
In this one, he continues to strangle Henry and telling her she needs to finish this movie. He makes a comment that asking, do people need to be taught how to die these days? Tells her to take one for the team.
At some point during the interview, did Mr. Smith admit to killing a second person?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And did he actually know the identity of this person?
He did not give her name. However, he identified her via photo.
And Smith's attorney chose not to cross-examine Detective Lee today, but reserved the right to question the detective later at this trial. His questions for Captain Cross were about whether the proper procedures were followed when Smith was asked to identify a photo of Abachuk. Tomorrow, the prosecution expects to play what it calls Smith's confession, and what the defense contends were just unclear comments from a fatigued man who was being badgered by detectives. Mike. The jury was shown two handmade, modified gun silencers this morning. An undercover police detective with the Anchorage Police Department was up first, and we can't show you his face or let you hear his voice because of safety concerns by the prosecution. So he testified about what was inside a black Adidas bag reported to have been taken from Smith. It contained nylon cords, latex gloves, duct tape, and garbage bags. He also testified about two handmade modified gun silencers, saying one of the silencers was made from an oil filter, going into saying that the silencer, quote, works amazingly well for suppressing any sound that fires. Another APD detective also testified about what he photographed at Smith's home.
Magnitude of what appears to be a couple SD cards, Looks like there's a lot of micro SD card readers and some what appears to be SIM cards for cellular communication, as well as external portable flash drives, thumb drives.
The defense has talked about the possibility of Smith testifying on his behalf this week, although a decision has not been made publicly.
Accused of killing 2 Alaska Native women, the homicides gaining national attention after a woman said she found a memory card on the ground labeled "Homicide at Midtown Marriott." Our investigative reporter, Rebecca Paulsha, was in court today for the final day of testimony. Rebecca?
Well, there was a brief moment when we thought Smith may testify on his own behalf, but after a short break, the defense said Smith declined. Today was filled with intense emotions as the jury heard text messages and saw video of Smith.
This is from Smith's phone. I have something to show you, period. Something I can't keep for too long.
The lead detective in the Brian Smith murder case read text messages prosecutors say are from the accused killer.
Need to find a secluded spot to meet.
The man he texts with pleaded his Fifth Amendment rights and did not have to testify. But messages prosecutors say are between them was presented to the jury.
And he responds, I was not up, comma, sounds like you were having a lot of fun. I did have fun, wanted to share.
Those moments playing out as the case's judge told the jury to disregard a conversation the prosecution said Smith had with his wife from prison about the deaths of Kathleen Henry and Veronica Abowchuk.
So Bislin said, so you did not sleep with the women you killed? And Smith said, not those 2.
That comment upset the family and friends of the 2 murdered Alaska Native women who have been in the gallery every day. Wednesday, the prosecution also showed the jury video of Smith and another person at McDonald's buying 2 Big Macs right after the prosecution said Smith killed Henry and dumped her body along the Seward Highway.
You'll see Mr. Smith's face, head, upper body, shoulders.
Prosecutors also presented video they say Smith took showing himself naked, leaning over a woman's body while she lays on a red couch. The jury was told it was Abowchuk.
I identified the female on the couch as Veronica.
Both the prosecution and defense finished presenting evidence and are expected to present closing arguments Thursday morning. And the judge told the jury he does expect them to begin deliberating tomorrow. Rebecca Paulsha, Alaska's News Source investigates.
A sense of justice from the family, one of the Alaska Native women murdered by Brian Smith, hours after a jury found him guilty on 14 counts related to 2 murders. The jury took less than 2 hours today to reach that verdict, along with saying Smith tortured one of the women. Our investigative reporter, Rebecca Paulsha, joins us now from downtown Anchorage and tells us that will mean at least a 99-year sentence. Rebecca?
Mike, this case came to a close just down the road from where we are now in a separate courthouse. And we were told by the family of one of the victims in this case, Veronica Abowchuk, her sister spoke with us. She told us that this jury brought herself, her sister, and the other victim in this case, Kathleen Henry, peace with that guilty verdict. So Smith was convicted for killing Abowchuk and Kathleen Henry. For 3 weeks, the jury watched horrific footage of a woman being beaten and strangled to death. There were photos showing 2 bodies being manipulated and touched sexually. Defense has maintained that the prosecution never linked the women in the videos to the 2 skeletal remains that were found. They also said that Smith only admitted to killing Abowchuk because he was interrogated by police for 8 hours and was tired. This case gained national attention when videos and pictures of 2 women moments before death were shown to police and given to police for this trial. And as soon as the verdict was read, we heard a family member whisper, Kathleen and Veronica got justice. We spoke with Veronica's sister.
They're at peace now. That's the most important. And for me, her sister, Veronica's sister, and Kathleen's family. It's been too long. And today is life celebration and spiritual celebration.
because Smith was also found guilty of an aggravating factor that he had physically tortured Kathleen Henry. That means that at the bare minimum, he gets 99 years in prison, and that sentencing, that as of now, is scheduled for July. Rebecca Paulsha, Alaska's news source.